And we're live. Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're marginally late. I've been moving Tommy around his house to get closer to a router. But we're we're finally made it. Tommy, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, eventually. Some weird glitches were going on, but we got it. Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. Doing good. And you?
Yeah, not bad. Right,
Are
it
you
does look like
fasting
that.
again?
No, does it look like I'm fasting? No, I'm drinking that. Right, so what it does look like we've got, for whatever reason, we have a delay connection between myself and Tommy. So
We'll see.
that's fine. So we're gonna be all right. We're gonna work this out. It's gonna be fine. It's like, do you know, like when they on I'm a Celebrity, that half of you are probably watching now, where they dial someone in and there's like a 5 second delay before someone answers. That's what you're gonna have tonight. Um, but Tommy,
Yeah.
how are you feeling about West Ham this season? Anyway, I'm going to let you have a little chat now for a little while. What's your take on the whole situation at the moment?
It's really disappointing. And that's coming from someone who didn't have particularly high expectations or demands really on this coming season. You know, 9 players in, new manager. Um, I was willing to be patient. You know, he was obviously going to be installing a new way of playing, a new system,
Yeah,
bunch of new players. So I was perfectly happy to be patient in the first half of the season, really. Um, he didn't necessarily have to hit the ground running or pull up any trees early on. You know, first 10 games I thought, might be a little tricky as the players kind of get used to it, especially as he got some of the players back late from international duty because of the Euros. And then there were other players that were signed a bit later in the window. So I said, okay, it might take a little bit of time. But hopefully, after a few games, we'll start to see a pickup and a bit of improvement. Um, but unfortunately, we've not only not had good results, but we've had disastrous performances and no obvious direction, no obvious guidance that the players seem to be getting. It seems to me like neither the fans nor the players or the manager seem to know what the hell it is we're doing. Um,
no.
I'd love to ask Lopetegui, what is it exactly we're doing? What's our style of play here? What's the identity of this team? Because there doesn't appear to be one. The players don't seem to know what it is either, which is alarming. And I mean, he's every week he's chopping and changing the starting 11. He's chopping and changing the formation, often in games, chopping 3 players out at halftime and changing formations from one match to the next. It seems to me like he's just kind of fumbling around in the dark, to be honest, and it just doesn't look good from that perspective.
No, it doesn't at all, mate. And you know, it's getting to the point now where there's part of me, you can't feel sorry for him. He's going to get a big payout when they sack him. But if you look at the man now versus the Lopetegui that we saw 5 months ago, he looks like he's aged about 10 years. He ain't having fun. He's not. It's not working for him. He's a very, very clearly a very limited manager. I don't. It's a shame. I don't have the same level of bad feeling that I had towards David Moyes, because I don't think he's not. I don't really feel anything for this guy. I don't. This is the main trouble. I've got no emotions. I'm struggling now with West Ham. This has been a real kick in the bollocks. But the thing that really gets me with him is that I don't think this squad is anywhere near as bad as what it looks. I don't think it is. I mean, there are players this season that were looking
Yeah.
great last season that are now looking shit. Everyone's looking crap. He is the common denominator. I do think I feel sorry for him because he hasn't come in here to fail, but he is failing. But at the same time, he's incredibly limited. He's got one style of fucking play, and I know you're saying he's chopping things around, but I don't know. Like, he still does that stupid fucking high press, with whatever combination it is, and that involves the right back joining that press. We're shit at it. So you have 5 players going man for man against their backline when they're trying to play out. We get fucking reeled in every time. That press gets beat, and then there's 5 players out the game, and that's why we get called Donut FC, because there's no fucker left. We've got half the team out the game, they're gone, and then it's kind of open season. And he never seems to learn. He never seems to get it. And the players now, what's really alarming now, and I don't like this, Tommy, I don't. If you're a player for the team and irrespective of how shit the manager is, whether you disagree with the position that you've been put in, whether you disagree with the tactics, the players get an awful lot of they get a big pass. Certainly with me, they do. I put a lot on the managers. But what I've started to see in the last few games is a blatant lack of fucking effort as well. They have switched off. They've checked out. A lot of these players have checked out, and that's the really alarming thing. I don't think I ever really saw that under Moyes, not too much. I've spoken to a few people that said that we did, but I never saw, like, if you saw the Babbling Irons review against Everton, I'll keep on going on about this because I missed it watching the game. I'm obviously blind to it now. But there were 3 instances in the first 10 minutes of Wan-Bissaka. The first one, he gave the ball away, shit pass back to Kilman, ball gets intercepted. Anyone else in that situation, they go bombing after the ball. You try and correct the mistake. Nothing. This is a new player. He done it twice more in the next 10 minutes. That's why he got fucking hooked off. Soufal looked better than him, but I'm not just picking on him. He's just an example of what I think that we're seeing now. I think the team have literally gone, they've washed their hands of it. But that is a problem. I'm not happy with the fucking players for doing that, Tom, because I don't think they've got any right to be doing that. Do you? Is that delay?
No, they don't. I mean, you want to see 100% effort every time. But I think the difference here, I think with Moyes, even if some or all of the players weren't exactly enamored with the style of play and the way we set up, I think they at least knew what they were doing. Like, they understood how they were supposed to play and how they were going to try and win games, even if it wasn't pretty, and I'd rather have been playing a better, more proactive style of play.
There was an identity.
It seems to me under Lopetegui, yes, we knew what it was as much as you and I hated it. We knew what it was. The players knew what it was. Well, at least there was no confusion. They looked to me like a group of players who were completely confused. And again, unlike under Moyes, I think the players are probably looking at each other and perhaps in hushed conversations are saying, what the fuck are we supposed to be doing here? This guy's clueless. The players look like they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. They look like kind of 11 individuals on the pitch who are just trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that's why the performances and results have been so bad, and why you're getting these, like you were just describing, why those things are happening is because the players don't have a clue what's going on.
No.
And I think that's the difference. No. I think we never saw this kind of cluelessness under Moyes. You know what I mean?
No, and also,
and I don't think it's because, and I don't think the players. I'm saying I don't think the players have down tools or anything like that. I don't think players have down tools. Or anything like that. I don't think it's any kind of rebellion. I think they look to me like a group of players who are completely confused and have been since the start of the season, and now they're dejected. I think it's difficult to, as a player, you get to the point where you're like, what's the fucking point? We've got no chance here. And it's difficult to motivate yourself when you feel like you've got no chance because you don't really know what you're doing. It's like if someone puts you in a job you've never done before in an office and puts you in the chair in front of a computer and says, right, off you go, and then leaves. You're going to be sat there looking like a fucking idiot. Because you're like, well, you haven't told me what it is I'm supposed to be doing or show me how to do it, or, you know.
No.
You're going to be dejected and you're not going to want to be there.
It's going to be very awkward. Because I like to jump in conversations, but we can't do this. We're going to have to take turns and wait. Right. So, there's literally, I think there's about a 2-second delay. So we'll just like I said, we will manage it. It's going well so far, though. But yeah, what I was going to say with that, you are right. You're 100% right. With the players will grow frustrated. I do think that there is a blatant issue with communication between Lopetegui and the players, trying to communicate what it is that he wants them to fucking do. I think we've seen examples of that with Bowen going over to Lopetegui and trying to almost saying, what do you want us to do? And then trying to sort of communicate that on. It's a mess, especially when you look at what he is trying to do. It does seem quite complex. You've got players switching positions. You've got this, that, the other. There's certain players I feel really fucking sorry for. One of them is a player. Look, no, I can't say I'm not his biggest fan. I've got nothing against him. He's a new player, But he just when I've watched him, I'm just thinking he ain't a Premier League player, and that is Guido. But then again, this is a player apparently identified and brought in by Lopetegui to play this role in midfield where the midfielder needs fucking legs because they've got to cover a lot of ground. So he's literally brought this guy in and just exposed him. Like when we played against fucking Chelsea. I don't think Alvarez has ever recovered from this because it was a humiliation. I don't think Alvarez has ever recovered from being asked to man mark Nicholas Jackson. I think Alvarez's head has gone since that point because he was made to look fucking shit. You got a weakness, it's like Lopetegui's going to expose it and make you look too Bob. And he did. Alvarez looked shit in that game. It's just he's not bringing the best out of the players. It's a bad situation. It needs to end soon. I think it's going to end soon, Tom. Well, we all know it is. It's whether or not he's going to get more than the Newcastle game, where we are absolutely going to get pumped on Monday night. I'm happy that it's a Monday night, going away to Newcastle with all that pace they've got in their team. Having said that, you don't know because Man United should have been 6-0 up at fucking half time, and then we ended up getting something out of that game. So football is, as Jimmy Greaves would say, a funny old game. You can never tell. But the rumours are that he's going to go either after Newcastle or the very latest after Arsenal if we lose those games. I think it depends not just on the result against Newcastle, but the performance as well. So if we get pumped and we're shit, I think we could see him go. Now, everyone's talking about new managers. I'm hearing completely different names to the ones that are being mentioned elsewhere. You know, I've spoken about Allegri before. I've heard another name as well, which I'm not going to say anything about now. But it's a name that a lot of other people have. Very exciting. There are other options out there, people that are interested that do want to come. I'll just. One thing I will say is what I do know is one of the managers that has spoken to them has almost turned the job down in this capacity. So they've been. From what I've been told, they've said to Sullivan that they would be happy to take over in the summer, but not now because they don't want to put their reputation on the line because it looks like it's fucked. You know, the situation we're in is fucked. But there are other managers that would be happy to come in now as well. What do you think? How at this stage, when you look at this squad that we've got and how fucked it is, because I know we've been fucked before, but we look really fucked now. Like it's really bad. Do you think it's going to be an easy job for someone to come in and turn it around? Because after Arsenal, we've got some winnable games, you would say on paper, starting with Leicester. But do you think it's going to be that simple for someone to come into this mess now with all of these players in their current state?
No, I think it'll be tough, especially once we're already into the season. It's going to be difficult, and this is why actually it was something I wanted to talk to you about because I know you mentioned this about the timing of when we might bring in another manager. So to me, there were two ways of thinking about it. So I understood what you were saying about don't bring the new manager in to potentially get well beaten in his first two games by Newcastle and Arsenal. Wait until we get them out the way and then bring him in for the kind of easier stretch. I personally, there's another way of looking at that. I personally would have gotten rid of him straight away after the Everton game, like that night. Yeah. He'd have been gone. And I'd have had the next manager in within the next couple of days. Whoever it was, have him in at least by midweek.
Yeah.
I would have felt,
I would as well.
Let's give him the international break. Yeah. I would have felt like if I was the owner of West Ham, say, I would have felt like, right, I'm going to get rid of him tonight. And we know kind of the people we want to bring in. We're going to get in the manager we want. Fingers crossed. Have him in sharpish. He'll have the international break. And he'll basically, his first two games will basically be a free hit. I think for me, as the owner, say, and for the fans, he'll get, I think, Newcastle away and Arsenal at home. We understand he's just come in. He's only just started working with the players. They're two very difficult games. If we lose those, we can live with that. But hopefully that will give him enough time on the training ground and with those two games to start getting the players up and running for the way he wants to play in the system he wants them to be in. So that by the time Leicester comes around, we have a chance when the schedule eases up to then maybe hit the ground running and start picking up the points, start getting some wins.
I do agree.
That's the way I would have
agree.
done it, but I understand the other perspective as well. But I just don't see the point. If it is the case that we're saying, oh, if he loses to Newcastle and Arsenal, he's gone, or if he loses to Newcastle, he's gone, because it seems almost inevitable anyway that that's the case.
Yeah.
So why even bother? You know, it's pointless, because after those two games, I mean, the schedule gets absolutely crazy and the games are coming thick and fast. A lot of games in December, you know, Christmas and New Year period as well. Then you've got the FA Cup then in January. I'd rather not risk having him come in right before the Leicester game with so many games coming thick and fast. He's not going to have much time on the training ground with the players.
It'll be worse for him to lose against Leicester than it would be against Newcastle.
Yeah, so if a new manager loses to Newcastle and Arsenal, you know, it's forgivable. But then hopefully by the time the Leicester game rolls around, he's got the players up to speed. We know what he wants from them. And then maybe we can start picking up points. But to bring a manager in, I think, after the Arsenal game, where he's going to have very little time on the training ground because the games are coming so thick and fast, it may actually cost us more points.
Yeah. No, I think it could, mate. I think it could cost us more points. Look, I know I said that. I know I said what I said before about the soft landings thing. And I do think that there is something in that, especially when you look at the state of the current fucking squad and how they've got no confidence in their current manager. Although we can say they're free hits, I do think there's something mentally important. If the new manager was to come in and we was to get pumped in against Newcastle and Arsenal, it's a really bad start, even though they're free hits. But I don't think that any of this is the reasoning behind why we are where we are. I don't think that Sullivan gives a shit about soft landings. I don't think he's ever cared about that. I don't think that that's the reason. I think other clubs that run things properly do things in that way. Amarim's first game's against Ipswich, for fuck's sake. You know, Tottenham do that quite a lot. They whenever they bring new managers in, they bring them in when there's a decent run of games coming up. I will say we have got that coming up. After Arsenal, we do have that decent run of games where you look at that. I'll pull the fixtures up in a bit, but there's a lot of games there because you've got like Southampton, there's Bournemouth, there's Wolves. You know, look, they're all good teams. They're Premier League teams, but it ain't Man City, Liverpool, fucking Arsenal, and Newcastle. They're games where we've got half a chance. So I do think that there's, for me personally, I think it's important that a manager has a chance to get off on a I'd be interested to know what the manager would prefer at this point. So if there is a manager lined up, and I would want to know whether that manager would be thinking, whether he would say, I'll tell you what, I'll join after Arsenal, or whether they would want to take over now. That's the other thing, because I do think that it's very unlikely, although you don't know, with a new manager bounce, I'm just not too sure. I think this squad looks like they're too far gone. They look depressed. They look confused. We need somebody to come into this club that isn't just a good tactician. I don't even think that we necessarily need a fucking good tactician at this stage. I think because we've got good players that we can kind of rely on if they're allowed to do what they can do, providing they're set up properly. We definitely need a good man manager. Whoever comes in next, they've got to be someone that can that has got the capability, that has got the capability of getting to know the players, putting an arm around them, getting them galvanised as a team, but most importantly, getting the fucking fans engaged. They've got to, because the fans are dead. The players are dead. The fans are dead. Everyone's dead. You know, sorry, we said earlier on, throughout the Moyes tenure, you know, we was both going at it with when Moyes was here. You still had that fire in your belly because you think, oh, what's going to come next? What's going to come next? Oh, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, you think, what's going to come next? And that sort of fight and desire was always there, but then this came. You know, we thought we'd won the transfer window, and now this has happened. Honestly, I've never known, the wind has been completely taken out of our sails as fans, as players, as everyone. It's fucking miserable. And I will say, Tommy, I've said this several times, and I'm never going to say it again, especially with Sullivan as a chairman. I said when we had Moyes, anyone would be better. I was wrong. I was wrong, Tommy. Because this guy is substantially worse than Moyes. I think he is substantially worse.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the point now, you know, where you see him on the sideline. It looks to me on the sideline like he's even given up trying to communicate to the players like verbally. It's
Yeah.
like with his eyes, he's trying to fucking get his ideas across using a Morse code with his fucking eyes, you know, to try and get some kind of message across to the players. I've never seen such confusion in a group of players. You know what I mean? It's like they just they look completely at sea.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can't think of a single other team in the Premier League right now where the players look completely at sea, like they've got
No.
absolutely no clue what's going on, which is astonishing, really. And I can't believe, you know, he hasn't thought to himself, and maybe we'll see it at Newcastle, we'll see. But if I'm a manager in that position where I think, fucking hell, this has gone really tits up, this is really, really bad, I've got to do something. I would think, you know, you just start going back to basics.
Yeah.
You know, drop your back line back or on the edge of the penalty area. Have your right back, Wan-Bissaka, who's one of the best defensive right backs in the business. You know, just have him play as a fucking right back. Let him do what he knows best. The central defenders are on the edge of the box. They know how to play that. They've been doing it all their careers. Same with the left back. Let's get a nice solid midfield. Let's just at least form a base that we can start to work off of. But he doesn't seem to even want to just reset it, get it back to basics. Let's try and just solidify a little bit. And so we've got some kind of platform that the players understand, and then we can just try and work it from there. But he hasn't done any of that, which is the shocking thing to me. It seems to be kind of, you know, that meme of I think is it from SpongeBob, where the guy's like, he's sitting there drinking a cup of tea with the place is burning down around him, like, this is fine.
It is a bit like that.
He just seems, so, yeah. I can't understand why he's just not bringing it back to basics. Forget the fucking high line. You know, forget your high press because none of it's working. Just drop everything back, get everything more solid. You know, do a mid press as soon as they cross the halfway line. Let's get them pressed. We won't let them through easily on our goal, and then we'll work on, you know, when we win the ball, how we can get forward quickly, try and hurt them. But none of that's happening. You know, none of the kind of damage limitation stuff that you normally expect to see in a situation like this is happening. I don't know if he's just completely stubborn, or he just doesn't see what we see.
I just don't think he sees it, Tom. I don't think he sees it. And just to touch on this, it's not a rumor. Terzic has been long linked with this job. Like I said, if you look at the betting odds, the top three are Potter, Terzic, and Southgate. A lot of the names that I've been given, they're not even in the betting list. They're not. Well, there's three names. They're not even in the betting list. You know about one of them. That's Allegri. But there's three other matches. I think within the club, this is how fucked West Ham is, and this is a problem as well. I think you've got Sullivan doing one thing, looking for managers, replacement managers. I think you've got Tim doing his job, what he's paid to do, going out there, looking for managers for what he wants. I think we know about those managers because he talks to Pletterberg, he talks to Romano. So you're looking at the Stuttgart manager and whoever else. I think there's 3 or 4 names that are on Tim's list. The other ones, I think, are the ones that are more Brady's list because Brady is also involved in this. I don't know how, but Brady is also involved in this process. I think we've got 3 people on the board that are out there looking for different managers and different types of manager. I do absolutely believe that because that can be the only explanation for, but it can be. It's bizarre, but from what I know and from what I can see about the managers that we're being linked with publicly and the managers that we're being linked with that are not public, if that's Sullivan in control of that, then I hope that Sullivan gets his own way. I will be honest, because the managers that he's looking at are far fucking better. They are better. So I don't know what's going on at the club. I don't even know now at this stage who the real fucking problem sits with. I'm so confused with it all. I don't know why Karen Brady's got so much say. I haven't got a clue. Why has she got a fucking say in proceedings? Why has she got a say in who the fucking manager is? That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all in terms of football dealings. But again, this is a massive problem. And when you look at clubs like Brighton, who they're very successful, whichever manager comes in, it seems like they just fucking work. But that's got to be because they're so solid behind the scenes. I've said it before, they're a well-oiled machine. It's perfect there. What we've got at West Ham now, with the addition of Tim, who also seems to be operating in silo, as Sullivan's operating in silo, and you've got other people at the club, it's a bigger fucking mess than ever. It's a bigger mess than ever. There's no one, they're not connected. They're not connected at West Ham. There's no common vision. So it looks like what they're doing now, because you've got this big board, Tom, they're going out there doing their own bits and pieces, and it's almost like it's a bid, I think. They're going to go and bring their managers to the table and say, well, we want that one, bid on that one. And it's going to be whoever gets the most fucking votes. It looks bizarre what's happening at the moment. But from what I'm seeing, I'm going to be honest, and these are Sullivan managers, the ones that I've been given insight into. I want them ones. Any one of them. I'd rather have them than the ones that are being publicly linked, personally. Honestly, I don't want fucking Terzic. I don't want Potter. I don't want Southgate. And I don't want all these, I don't want, half of these managers that Tim's linking us with. Apart from the Stuttgart manager, that'd be all right. I'll give that a go. But I don't know. It's a mess at that club, mate. It's a mess at board level. It's fucked.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what we're seeing on the pitch is a visual representation of West Ham as a whole.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just completely disjointed. Too many cooks spoil the broth, and that's what we've got here. There's just, like you say, there's a complete lack of direction. It's a circus still. Mark Noble said in 2016, we're not run like a circus anymore.
Yeah.
We're as bad as ever.
It's got worse since then.
There's just too many fingers and too many pies. If anything, it's worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an absolute shambles. When you've got the chairman like buying some players and the sporting director is buying some players and the manager is buying some players, and this is no way to run a club. It's an absolute joke. You're supposed to have structure at a club, and it's supposed to be kind of fluid and joined up. And at the moment, we're like, an unmade jigsaw.
But Tommy, even giving Lopetegui a little bit of a break for a second, right? Because you can look at it like that. So he's come into a squad where 9 new players have been brought in. It sounds like by fucking 3 different people, 3 each. I mean, so there's no... So, because you can't tell me that Lopetegui wanted Wan-Bissaka. He wanted a fucking wing-back. Now, I love Wan-Bissaka. Great player. Great defensive right-back. But you can't tell me that that's the player that Lopetegui wanted. So even for him, I think a little bit, especially when you consider how limited the fucker is. He's only got one system. You've definitely got to get him the players that he needs, because he ain't flexible. He can't change. He can only play one way. So even he, I don't think he's been given the tools to do the very best that he can do, even though I just want him fucking gone because I think he's shit. But what I'm saying is, even Lopetegui, I don't think he's had his job made easy, to be honest. I don't. Not really.
No.
Go on, you'll go.
No, but
I'm being patient. So what I'm doing is, this is very different, because normally we bounce off of each other. Because there's a delay, I'm going to have to go quiet and then wait for Tommy to go. So I'm going to go quiet again now. Tommy, you go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
4. Oh, fuck.
Cheers, mate.
Go on.
Yeah, again, it's just because of there's no job. What? you said you were going to be quiet. So I'm just going to keep going. So yeah, look, this is what happens when there's no joined up thinking at the club. But the whole point of the sporting director is that he's supposed to lay out an overall vision for the club. So in an ideal world, we have everything joined up right from the youngest kids in the academy, right? So our academy is set up to play a certain way, which reflects how the first team is set up to play. So there's a seamless transition for any players that do make it from the youth academy into the first team. So Stoyton's job should have been, when he came in, if he was allowed to do it, is that he says, right, this is how we play at West Ham, right? He gets familiar with the West Ham way, speaks to people like Martin Noble, Kevin Keane, etc., and they say, right, this is how our underage teams play. We like to get it down, pass it about, etc., etc. And then he should say, right, now I understand. I have to make the first team a mirror of that, the West Ham way. And so he should be hiring a manager that will be able to coach first team players to play that way, the West Ham way. And then he should go out and buy the players for whatever positions we need who fit that. And then hopefully you have a seamlessly running club where everything is in lockstep. We have the opposite, the exact opposite. We bring in a manager, and I don't believe for a second, by the way, that had Tim Stoyton been allowed to choose which manager came in, that it would have been Lopetegui.
He ain't getting any of them managers. He's not.
I don't believe that whatsoever. Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
And
stop.
So had they left, had they, you're fine. Had they left Stoyton alone to do his job, he would have chosen a manager more fitting for the way that we want to play, and he would have brought in the players that would fit that system. Now, of course, he would still have spoken to the manager, and they said, okay, look, we have to get a striker, left winger, right back, or right wing back, depending on what system you like to play. And they would, collaborate, and he would say, now the head coach would not choose what player comes in, but it'd say, this is what we're going to be doing. So I need someone with these attributes, and Tim will say, okay, right, got it, know what you need, and he'll go find that player for the club. That's what joined up thinking is. That's what gives you an opportunity to be successful when everything is in lockstep. But we have the complete opposite situation. The whole thing is a shit show, and for someone like Sullivan, who's owned this club for so long and previously owned Birmingham, you'd think at some point the fucking penny about how to run a football club properly. But Sullivan never seems to learn a fucking thing.
No, never, mate. Never. Honestly, and I think that ship has long sailed with Sullivan knowing what he's doing. Like I said to you, I mean, I'll never forgive him for what he's done to us. I think he's absolutely gutted. I mean, this season is a culmination of that. It really is a kind of it's a harsh awakening to the severity of what they've done to West Ham, because you strip away our heritage, you strip away our football club, you do what you've done with Moyes, which is, look, fair enough. I know we won the cup, but you bring in these managers that don't give us a style of football that we desire. Even that is part of our identity, is part of our heritage. Even that you fucking strip away. And, we've got a stadium that is just a fucking soulless bowl. It really is. And then he goes out and he brings in Lopetegui. The only other thing that we've got left, I suppose, really, that we cling to is our youth academy, which is a bit of a fucking fraud. And we all saw how it was electric over there when George Urphy scored that goal. George Urphy, he got concussed. He came back really quickly. He got into the game. Moyes was giving him minutes. I know it was token minutes, but he did well with the time that he got, and he had a bit of momentum. And I just think even that we've got a fucking under-21s team that battered Arsenal. Was it 5-1 or whatever it was in the final a couple of years ago? How the fuck are none of those players in this team at this stage, or at least in and around the fucking squad, when we're as shit as this? It makes no sense. That table's come out that everyone's talking about the the age of the fucking team, the average age, which I think we're second oldest, and we're rock bottom because it kind of, I don't know how they work out the metric, but with 0 minutes to any academy players. John made a video the other day, really good. I don't know whether you saw it, and it was about a lack of identity, and that is it. That's why we've got nothing at the club that knows anything about fucking West Ham, no identity. And if you look at that table, Gonzo did a video on it earlier on, the top 10 who have given the most minutes to players who know something about the fucking clubs they play for, they tend to be, the table's more or less where it should be. Basically, the better teams are up the top and the shit teams are down the bottom. there's a couple of anomalies, but not many. It's clearly quite fucking important to have players and staff and people at your club who know what it is to be a player for that club. We've got no one. We have lost our identity. It's all gone to fucking shit. Half of them players, probably 3/4 of them players, fuck off tomorrow if they could. I reckon they would. You know, it's a shame, and we've got fans that are walking away all the time. Oh, sorry, I've got my cough's going. We've got fans that are walking away. We have. I spoke to one earlier on, and he's literally turned his back on West Ham. He said, "This is it. I'm done. I've literally had enough." Lifelong West Ham fan. I've had enough. I am done now. This damage, you know, it's going to be quite irreparable if Sullivan allows it to go. And I think he's pushing fans too far, Tommy, this time. I think he's pushed too far. Now I do. I feel like it ain't the fact that we're losing and that we're shit. It's just that we've got nothing, mate. We've got nothing. It's like the Ian Bill fucking meme. I've got nothing left. And it ain't funny because we've got nothing left. We haven't got anything left. It's the only thing that's West Ham about this club is a colour of the kits that we play in. We're nothing like the team that played at Upton Park. Nothing. There is nothing there. Nothing left to me that says that this is West Ham United. It is fucking shocking what has happened, and it needs to change and change quick because we're not idiots, West Ham fans, and we love our club, but there's a thin line between love and hate, and quite a lot of us are starting to fucking detest what we're turning into. And I know we're never going to be what we was. I know we're not. But you can at least honour your heritage. You can at least fucking acknowledge what you was. You can at least try and encompass and bring in some of the fucking elements. Give us something back, is what I'm trying to say. Just give us something, for fuck's sake. And I ain't talking entitled. I ain't saying I want top 6. I ain't saying I want fucking trophies. I don't give a fuck about trophies. I didn't start supporting West Ham because I wanted trophies. No, I didn't. Well, for a start, I didn't have a choice in the matter because it's a family thing. But I didn't. We're not glory hunters. There's just certain things that we love about West Ham. We was always special. We was always a little bit fucking different. A lot of like fans from rival London clubs couldn't really understand the fanfare around West Ham. You shit. Like, what you make a big fuss for? We was different. It was a community club, and that was a thing. Community. It was a community club. Now it's. I don't actually know what we've become. Now I'm not saying it's irreparable. We're never going to get back what we was, but I think what we need to do now is we need to move forwards, but they do need to encompass something. They've got to try and give us, as John was saying in the video the other day, give us some form of identity back. Anything, just fucking something to cling on to, Tom. Anyway, mate, go on, you go.
Yeah, I know you've been kind of banging this drum for a little while now, and I do completely agree. Sullivan has systematically ripped the heart and soul out of this club.
Yeah.
And it's terrible to witness because we have so much love and passion for West Ham. And like you said, like me and you were kind of older fans, as it were, Nick. We've been around for a while. And we've seen ups and downs. We've seen, relegations and promotions and all kinds. We've had some good times and bad times, but we were always West Ham. We always had our identity. We always knew who we were. We always loved the club for what it was. And like you say, it was a real family club. And there was a closeness among the fans. Upton Park, and I don't like to get too misty-eyed about Upton Park, but it was our home, and it was our identity, and that's been stripped away as well. And we're at the point now where you're thinking, as a West Ham fan who's been around for a long time, supporting the club, you start to look around and you start to think, well, what's left? That when you've stripped away even the academy, that we were always really, really proud, Nick, of our academy, because over the years we produced some absolutely cracking players, and we understood, we're probably going to lose them after a couple of seasons if they're brilliant. they're going to sign for a big club. But there was a real sense of pride in that. You know, when you look back, we can rattle off obviously huge names that we've produced just in the Premier League era, who went on to play for huge clubs, win a lot of silverware, and we take a kind of sense of pride in that. Is that like, yeah, we produced those players, we developed them. They are what they are because of West Ham, and we don't even have that. You know, we don't even have that now. The last player who came through at West Ham that played regularly and had any kind of impact was Declan Rice. He made his debut under Pellegrini.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd say something if the academy wasn't doing its job. You know, if the academy had gone to pot and they just producing youngsters that were worth a damn. But we produced an unbelievable class of under-18s that did the league and cup double. In that cup final, they played Arsenal, who they have an academy that they're quite proud of up there in Arsenal. And we played them in the cup final at the Emirates and made them look fucking terrible. Absolutely tore them to pieces. And for us to be sitting here now still with none of these players getting a sniff, it is, to me, absolutely fucking disgraceful. It's actually at the point now where when you hear someone refer to us as the Academy of Football, something that used to be something that we were really proud of, almost feels fucking embarrassing now.
Mm.
When you look at the stats that you were talking about that came out, it was a percentage of minutes that Academy products have played for the first team this season. 0% of game time this season is, I'm sorry, it's unforgivable, and it's emblematic of the rot that has set in at this club, and it's very maddening to me. I've been banging on for a long time now about the academy, a long time, and how it's a disgrace. Like, long before Moyes even left, I was furious that we had a manager who just did not give a shit about our academy or show any interest whatsoever in developing a single player from our academy. And it looks like so far under Lopetegui, the same is true. Seems to have absolutely no interest whatsoever in developing our best youngsters. And I know you've said it, Nick. If we had, for example, Earthy, would Earthy be playing worse than fucking Soler?
No fucking
in that
way.
position?
No.
You know, if we had Freddie Potts, would he be playing worse than Rodriguez?
Nope.
Or would he be a young West Ham lad who's desperate to prove himself, who fucking loves this club and wants to do well for the club and wants the club to do well and win games?
It won't be a lazy fuck like all these players that we're watching at the moment.
Time. Yeah, and so to me, that's probably the biggest crime. Because we actually do have some cracking youngsters, and they just can't get a sniff. So, you know, the heart and soul is gone from the club as far as I'm concerned, and something drastic needs to happen to get that back. And I think it requires ultimately David Sullivan fucking off. And let's get somebody in at the top who actually cares, or at least understands, even if he's not a West Ham man himself, at least where someone can get hold of him, Mark Noble, someone, and say, look, we've got to get this club's identity back somewhat. We can't do anything about Upton Park. The stadium is what it is, but at least we can become the Academy of Football again and give the fans something back that they can be proud of again.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. Damien, the answer to that is I don't know. I mean, I've not been keeping track of any West Ham news. I've not seen any of the clickbait shit that's been going around. I've not been reading any articles or anything like that. I've just been having a few conversations with people. So I don't know the intricacies. I don't know whether Alvarez is. I've not been watching other shows because I do consume a lot of other YouTube content as well. Typically, I've been watching fuck all. So I've been struggling with it. I'm struggling with West Ham. I'm struggling to watch the games. And going back to what you said about the Academy of Football and having managers, Tommy, that clearly don't have any interest in making use of these, in this case, wonderful academy players that we've got and developing them. It can't just be the manager's fault, because when a manager gets employed, he'll have a mandate of what his job entails and what is expected of him. It can't be something that Sullivan even fucking talks about. It can't be like, we want you to develop youth players. We want you to, be that man, to be that. I don't think he gives a shit. And that's the God's honest truth. At some point, maybe we'll land on a manager, like one of them that I know about at the moment. He would be very keen on utilising youth players. But again, that would just be like a bit of luck. That isn't something that Sullivan is mandating. He's not saying you've got to do that. I think it will fall on the man. And typically, I think they're under. I don't know. It's so difficult, and it's really hard because I know we run a fucking support group for West Ham fans, right? And it's very difficult at the minute. Like me, Mr. Negative Nick, I'm seeing other fans literally crushed. They're literally like, look, John, you see like John's video. John's a positive fan. Fans are fucking like literally, in terms of West Ham, dying. Their passion for the club is dying. And I'm trying to sort of search for negatives, for positives at the moment. I'm trying to search for positives of ways that we can bring this back. But I'm so scared that it's gone too far. I am scared. When I look at the state of the club, at the players that we've got, the fact they've got no connection. I don't think these players have got any connection with the fans anymore. Half of them want out. Whatever manager comes in, they've got to get this next one right, because it's got to be a people person. Just get a fucking people person in. Like I said to you, we've got enough talent in that team to win games, win games on their own. We just need somebody to make them want to play for West Ham again. And then communicate with the fans, get them to fucking, so we're all as one. When you get in front of a camera and you talk about what you're going to do on a match day, actually go and fucking do it. And then the fans might start believing you. And then the next time in the lead up to a game, when a manager comes out and says, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, the fans will get all excited because we'll think he ain't a fucking bullshitter. He ain't just going to, go down there and, fucking park the bus or do this. We're actually going to go out. We're going to give it a go. The players are going to be fucking let off the leash. What's most disgusting with this manager, Lopetegui, is that there is so much talent in that team, so much talent in that squad, undoubtedly. And they are, like some of them were under Moyes, they're shackled again. And this is where I think these people, I'm going to say it, it ain't rocket science managing a fucking team. I think you would struggle to find a bloke off the street that would do a worse job than him. For a start, at the very fundamentals of it, when you've got these types of players, you play your players in their best positions. I don't know what this is, whether it's some sort of fucking power trip. You've got Kudus, who's effective wherever you play him. He's our best player, but let's play him persistently in the position where he is least effective and only switch him over to the right when we're desperate, when we're losing. That was when he got sent off the other day. He fucking lost his nut. He did. When he got sent off, we literally kept him out on that left-hand side. We switched him over to the right when we was up shit creek without a paddle. He lost his fucking mind. He did. They must be so confused.
He's never done that before, Kudus.
No. But you made a point earlier on about working. The manager is so key to any environment. But in a sports team, it's the same. If you're working in a factory or something, there's 20 of you and you've got a line manager. If you've got a great bloke who's good with people, you're going to enjoy your job. You're going to enjoy going to work. You're going to have a laugh. You're going to be productive. If you've got some prick who's fucking on you all the time, just making your life a fucking misery, I'm good at doing one thing, but I'm not going to let you do that. You can go and do that, what you're shit at, and then I'm going to shout at you for doing it badly. That type of thing. This is what we're seeing at West Ham. It's a fucking unhealthy environment. And I don't necessarily think that the language barrier is as big as a bigger deal was what's being made of. Because when Poch came into Southampton, I don't think he could speak a fucking word of English. And not great when he went to Spurs. I just think it's his personality. From what I'm hearing, there's players, and apparently this didn't really happen very often under Moyes. It did towards the end. But there are a lot of players that are going above Lopetegui, above Tim, and going directly to the board, complaining. A lot. There's a lot of players that are complaining about what they're seeing. I just don't see how Sullivan can be sitting on his hands, because probably the most catastrophic thing that could happen to us at this point is a repeat of the Man United game, where we get played off the fucking park and we shit house a draw or we shit house a win. That will buy him, that will just kill our season completely dead. It will kill everything. And this is a risk that Sullivan is running, because it could happen. It could happen. We all know this manager is dead. We know at some point he's going to go. He's going to fail. But I don't know what he's trying to prove, Sullivan. It's finished. It's absolutely fucking finished. Just get rid of him. Like you said, it should have happened straight away after the... It should have happened after Man U, mate. Not after Everton. He shouldn't have got fucking Everton. It should have happened after Man U. That was a fucking embarrassment, that game. That game should have been gone, over and done with, and dead at half-time. 6-0. We were shit. That should have been it. He should have been gone. So I just think it's all been managed so poorly. And, you know, Sullivan, he don't care. There's no point making a plea to Sullivan, because he doesn't really give a shit, ultimately, I don't think, about the fans. He only cares about himself looking good in the media. And this is... there's no point. He will sack him eventually, but how much damage is going to be done by the time that he does? I mean, the amount of damage that's been done now, because he employed the wrong fucking manager. He should never have been here in the first place. Because let's have it straight. Nobody wanted this fucker. And I know I've been clipped on Twitter saying I listed him in a thing. Nobody wanted him. I signed a Lopetegui position when we was actually looking like we was going to get him. The last man that anyone really wanted. And the worst thing is when we actually signed him, every fan jumped on board with it because we had to. We're like, all right, well, we've signed him now. You know, it's got to be better than Moyes. Let's get on board with it. But it's actually turned out worse than what we anticipated. And that is so bad, because it shows you, I think the Lopetegui appointment, Tommy, is definitive proof that Sullivan does not listen to the fans, doesn't give a shit what we think, thinks that we don't know what we're fucking talking about, even though that is the biggest illustration yet that maybe we do know a little bit, because it was so wrong on every level. It didn't fit. He doesn't fit. Your turn.
Yeah, again, just completely agree. But this is just classic David Sullivan, really. See, like you say, like Sullivan actually doesn't care. Like when we get hammered, when we play shit, we look terrible, we get hammered, it's awful. It hurts us. It doesn't hurt David Sullivan when we get pumped, when we play shit. It doesn't hurt him in here the way it hurts the fans. No. So he just sits back and looks at it and go, okay, not a good performance, not a good result, but, you know, we give it time. We give it, because it doesn't hurt him. You know, there's performances there and results where I'd be furious. And I'd be calling Lopetegui up to the office going, what the fuck was that? And what the fuck are we doing? Sort your fucking self out, sort that fucking team out, or you won't be here for much longer, because that is unacceptable. And I'm not going to keep watching that shit. You weren't brought in here for that. So, but Sullivan, he just doesn't care. It doesn't hurt him. Just doesn't hurt him. So it's easy for him to say, oh, we'll give it, you know, the 3 games. Oh, next 3 games, and we'll see how we go. And, you know, and then, you know, maybe win the third one 1-0 in a shit performance and reset the clock again. Oh, I guess you can stay for another while, because none of it hurts him. He looks at the league position, looks at the table, and he says, well, it's still early doors, 14th, but a couple of wins would shoot up the table. He doesn't really seem to take the performances into account, take the behind the scenes into account. It's like he doesn't see that the players have absolutely no faith in this guy, that the players don't know what they're doing. It's easy for him to say, oh, we'll give it some time, because ultimately his heart's not in it. No. And it doesn't cause him any fucking pain. And that's why he does the things he does. It's why he's able to give... It's why Lopetegui's still here after that Everton game, because it just doesn't hurt him. That's ultimately why he doesn't sack these guys when he should, because he's not in any fucking pain. He doesn't feel the anger. He doesn't feel the hurt that we feel as fans. So, of course, he can't relate to us. Of course, he doesn't listen to us, because he doesn't fucking get it.
No. No, mate, but I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, I've spoken to several people, certainly in the last few weeks, that would say the opposite. They would say that Sullivan, apparently, when we lose, you can't even contact him for 2 days because he goes into a fucking deep depression. But I don't know. I don't know whether that's true. I haven't got a fucking clue. I mean, if that is true, if he does
Lopetegui,
care,
I don't know. I just think if that was true, Lopetegui wouldn't fucking be here right now.
no. That's what I mean. So I can't buy it because he isn't a stupid man. He's not. So I just feel like the guy's a gambler. I think what people say is, I think it's true. I think the reason we got Lopetegui was purely money. Is because it was cheap. So how the man, like you said earlier on, for him to have been in football as long as what he has throughout his time at Birmingham, however fucking long that was, and his time here, probably a collective 30 years, 35 years, and how he still hasn't determined the importance of a manager to be able to get the best out of what you've got, because what we've seen before in the past is we've seen managers that have come in and had teams playing, I suppose, greater than the sum of their parts. You probably could say 15-16 was like that because we had Dimitri Payet, yes, a great player, and we had Lanzini, but there were other players in that team that were playing way above their level. They was enjoying their football. Mark Noble probably had his best season there. Cresswell was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Antonio was brilliant. There were so many players in that team that were the bollocks because they was enjoying their football. A manager that got them playing above their level. What we've got now is a team that is playing below the sum of their, less than the sum of their parts. Way less. Like we've got a few players that would go and walk into another team and be superstars, but they are shit here. And it's fucking ridiculous. It is. And I don't know how you fix this now because I feel like the cover's been blown. This is the trouble, especially with the latest players that have been brought in. So Tim came into the club. When he came into the club, he had this illusion of changing things at West Ham and this massive project and how it's going to change. He would have sat down with Alvarez and Kudus. I know he didn't identify him, but he fucking convinced them, negotiated and got those deals over the line, brought them back on his plane by selling his project, saying, this is what you're coming into. West Ham are an ambitious club. David Moyes is here at the moment, but this is where we're going, blah, 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 blah. Same with the youth players that have signed their contracts. He had something about him, but that's been blown wide open now. That's been proved as bollocks. There is no project. And I don't blame Tim for that because Tim isn't allowed to do his job, really. I'm not saying that Tim is the best thing since sliced bread, or he isn't. We'll never know. He hasn't been able to do his job. So Tim now, as far as I can see, I almost feel like he's expired because that sales pitch that he would have given these players, surely they will look at him and go, well, you're talking bollocks, aren't you? Alvarez and Kudus are certainly feeling that at the moment because they fucking want out. They want gone. A lot of the new players that have come in the summer, they've walked in. Don't tell me Fulkrug and Guido are homesick. They're fucking 30 or 32 years old. They're grown men. They ain't homesick. You know what I mean? I mean, Guido, he's on 75 grand a week and he's willing to go back to Betis for half of his money. This is how bad it is at West Ham. He is willing to give up his retirement paycheck, Guido. This is literally probably his last big move at 30 years old. It's that bad that the guy's willing to go, do you know what? Fuck that. I'm going back to Betis for half the money. That is damning. That's fucking damning to the situation that we're currently in. And there is, and that guy, he just wants to play football. Obviously, look, he's a professional. He's an Argentinian international, and we can say until we're blue in the face, he's not a Premier League player. I said it earlier on this show, but to be honest, like I said, Lopetegui plays players in positions where he makes them. If you've got a weakness, he exposes it. They look shit. Alvarez looked great last year. He looked shit this year. Everyone keeps on going about Paqueta being finished. Oh, it's the court case hanging over his head. No, it ain't. He is shit, but he's no more shit than everyone else's shit in the team. They're fucking Bowen. Bowen, he's gone from a 20-plus goal a season player. You'd be lucky if he scores 10. If you take fucking penalties out of the equation, everyone's level has completely and utterly gone. And I just think that I've got no confidence because we had such a good platform in the summer to build. I know we had to do a big rebuild because of the shit job that Moyes did with that squad. We had the oldest squad in the league and a lot of them had to go. And we had to bring in 9 players off the back of Moyes' 5-year, non-project, which was making it up as he went along in terms of a squad rebuild. So I get that, but he had the perfect opportunity there to go out and pick the man, the man, the project man to take us forward. But you know what he did? He went out and he got a cheap bloke and he put him on a 2-year deal. Some bloke who don't give a fuck about the long term because he ain't here for the fucking long term. So not only did he do you know what I mean? Even if Lopetegui was a project man, he ain't going to have any other investment beyond the end of this season because he hasn't got a long contract anyway. So even that, and just that alone, showed you the fucking negligence from Sullivan's perspective. If you want somebody to buy in and help you build something for the future, that you need to make them feel like they're part of that fucking future. Lopetegui weren't. He's on a 2-year deal. You know, it's the whole thing is fucked. And it's a massive mistake. I'm sure Sullivan feels very sorry for himself and he's very down in the dumps and everything else, but it's your own fucking fault. It's your own fault. You gambled again and you fucking lost. Well, we've lost. It's always us that loses. Always. But I feel like this season we've lost more than ever. I do. Because everything's come home to roost this season. You know, more so than ever. I find myself watching them fucking Robert Banks videos more often than I ever have before. Just going back and watching, you know, just sitting there reminiscing of fucking of the good old days. Because this is shit. And it makes it even worse when you watch those videos. It makes you hate what we are now even more. We're fucking shit. And I'm not saying it's irreparable. There is a way forward. There is. If he brings in the right man, if he does bring in the right man, and if somehow this, and do you know something? Whoever comes in next, they're getting my back in because it's going to take some bollocks to come into this. So whoever comes in next, if they can manage to galvanise this team and get rid of the rot and get us fucking moving and get us winning, I'm going to be forever grateful to that guy. The next manager is a massive, massive appointment because I think we're on the cusp of literally going into oblivion as far as a fan base following is concerned. We're falling out of love with West Ham. If we can bring in a manager that, I'm not talking about our league position, a manager that can reignite our passion for the club, then that manager will forever live be you know what I mean, live on in my heart because as it stands at the moment, there's a lot of people that are on the verge of fucking walking away. So the next man that needs to come in has got to be a people person, somebody that can connect all the fucking dots. You know, enough of these games, Sullivan. You need to fucking pull your finger out, mate, and make sure you. This is it. This is kind of for me. I think this is Sullivan's last hurrah for a lot of fans. He gets one more chance. If he fucks this one up, a lot of people will fuck off. The ones who ain't gone already, they'll go. You go.
Yeah, it does feel like this is kind of a crossroads moment for the club. You know, there was obviously a lot of turmoil there when Moyes was there, split fan base. There was a lot going on, I think, behind the scenes at West Ham between Sullivan and Moyes. And there was an opportunity in the summer to put a pep back in our step and to get us kind of moving in a really potentially good direction, you know, with Tim Stoyton doing his thing, hopefully getting all our ducks in a row. He wanted Aaron, I believe, and I still think could have got him if Sullivan hadn't have interfered. And it's gone the opposite direction. You know, all the hope we had at the end of last season that maybe this season we would see something better has already been removed a few games into the season. And somehow we've managed to make things worse. And everything now just looks a complete and utter mess. And the worst thing for me is that I've gone way past the anger stage. And I've now, and I think a lot of our fans will probably feel the same way, is that, yeah, the worst thing is when the hope is gone.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Once the hope is gone and all you're left with is apathy, then you're definitely banging trouble. So I agree that I think when Lopetegui goes, which will be very soon, I think it's absolutely vital that the next appointment is the right one, and that starts moving us quickly in the right direction. Because if he gets the next one wrong, it's going to be just absolute carnage at the club.
Yeah.
Like you, I think the fans, we're done. I think as fans, we're just going to say, like, what's the fucking point? We're turning up here every week to watch this shit. And I'll be one of them. I went to 4 games last season, even though it was under Moyes, because as much as I didn't like the style of play, you always still felt like we might be able to win any given game. We might get beat 5-0 too, but we might win it. Our league position was relatively healthy. So I was still willing to go and watch, the 4 games, come over from Ireland and watch the 4 different games season. Right now, I've got absolutely no interest, Nick, to be completely honest. I've got no interest of spending that money and doing all that travel.
Tommy,
to go and watch an absolute mess.
But Tommy, imagine if you'd have done that. You'd have fucking spent out, your flight money. You'd have come over, booked your hotels, done all that, and then you sat there in a London stadium watching that game against Everton. I mean, imagine that. I mean, fucking hell. And yeah, I just think it's heartbreaking now because it is a little bit, and I know a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, you're dramatic, this, that, the other." And I've heard it before on other channels. And Nigel Khan is right. What he's saying, he's right. This ain't even our worst start. It's in the top 10, but it's like the 8th. But it's you can't take the context out of it. I mean, we're not talking about results. We're talking about everything else and everything that came before. This is different this time. It's different. And when you said there, removing the hope, that's what they've done this time. They've removed the hope. We had the hope last year under Moyes of what comes next. They've removed that. We're pretty much we're a working class, only fools and horses, Del Boy mentality fan base. This time next year, Rodney, we don't believe it anymore. And that's sad. That this time next year thing it's gone. We don't even believe it ourselves anymore. And that's a sad place to be in for us, because that's how we've existed as fans throughout time. This time next year, Tommy, we're going to be fucking doing this.
Yeah.
And we don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah. That's the thing that's the thing. You see, like, I'm at the point now where I'm thinking, even if Lopetegui gets sacked after Newcastle or after Arsenal, I still have no hope really that the next appointment will be a good one either. That will just end up, like, I've seen reports that apparently, like, they're talking to Terzic and he's ready to come in, and I'm like, oh well, great, here we fucking go again. So whether that's true or not, obviously I don't know, but it just wouldn't surprise me in the least. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. It's got Sullivan written all over it, to be honest.
If he comes in, Terzic, he ain't who I want. But if he's got big enough bollocks to come into this, I'll back him. And I know he ain't what I want, but this ain't the summer. And I've just said earlier on, he's one of the last managers that I want. But whichever manager comes into this now, to be quite honest, they're going to get my back in anyway, because this ain't easy. This is not. Whoever you are he's a young manager, Terzic. Whoever you are, you're coming in, you're putting your reputation on the line coming into this fucking shit show. You really are. So I don't want Terzic, but even if he came in, I wouldn't kick up as much of a stink as what I did with Lopetegui in the summer, because that was different. That was a start of a project. This is bollocks. What with the situation that we're in now, I don't want Terzic. He ain't going to be him. I'm just saying, if it was, I'd back him. Good luck, mate, is all I'd say. Good luck, because I don't know how someone like him, is going to galvanise. Be that man. Like I said to you, it's not just the team that need lifting, it's the fans. And it's a collective. We're all one. We are. It's like a fucking living, breathing organism in a stadium. The fans need to feel a connection with the players. The players need to feel a connection with the fans. The manager is a man that can that can oversee that can orchestrate it. He can. It's so important to get this right. And I sound like a scratch record. And it is quite upsetting, because I'm so worried that we're going to get it wrong, because we've just got it catastrophically wrong. And I've got no confidence, even though the names that I've been given I would be over the moon if any one of them came in. I would be, but I know it's not just one person making a decision now. It goes to a board vote, so I don't actually know who's gonna come in. You know, I've got no idea. I know who one part of the board wants, and I'm very happy with the people that they're talking to. But clearly, there's other people talking to others as well. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the betting odds that there are. There wouldn't be fucking Tim going out there broadcasting who he's talking to, because that's all he's doing. You know, Tim. I like Tim, I do, but all he's doing now, he's doing damage limitation for his own career. He's trying to sort of salvage his own reputation, and the whole time him coming out, you know, through Pletterberg and Romano saying I never chose Lopetegui, he's absolving himself of all this. Now, I don't blame him. I'd do the same if I was Tim, because he's a young guy. His reputation is everything. I'd be doing the same. But the fact is, this ain't healthy for West Ham at this stage. It's not. It just feels like we've got a load of people that only give a fuck about themselves a little bit, and this is a problem. You know, it's a big problem.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be an ongoing one. I think all we can kind of hope for is that when Lopetegui goes, that Sullivan, or if it is going to be Sullivan who's ultimately deciding who the manager is going to be, that he just stumbles across, you know, a good decision, which, you know, law of averages, which is all he's ever done, by the way, Sullivan. Whenever he's gotten something right and we've had a good season, we've had a little purple patch, it's just law of averages. It's not him knowing what he's doing. It's not because he has some great plan in place and it's all very well researched.
Analogy,
it's just law of averages. Every once in a while, he'll pick a manager who does well for a bit. So the hope is that, you know, whoever he does bring in, that he'll just happen to, because it will just be luck, really, more than, you know, it won't be knowledge on Sullivan. Really hope that whatever manager does come in to replace Lopetegui, that Sullivan gets lucky with the appointment and it works out, and hopefully, you know, we can start to have some hope again going forward. But like I say, I'll believe it when I see it, Nick, to be honest. So we just have to wait and see, I guess.
Same here. I mean, even me, myself, like I said, I'm getting my hopes up, because everyone gets their information from different places, and look, the information that I get, it's 100%. It's bang on, but also it's not 100%, because it doesn't necessarily mean just because a manager is talking to the club and they're getting on with someone, it don't mean that we're going to be employing them. Because of the mess at the fucking club, I don't know. I don't know really who has the most say at the club. I mean, there's, you know, what has Brady got on Sullivan for a start? I mean, how the fuck has she got a say? I mean, what she got some tapes that she must have something over him. There's no way that she should be having a say in football matters at this club. Not a chance. That's a worry, and that's a concern as far as I'm concerned. But no, look, Terzic is currently the front runner, as is Potter. Southgate won't happen. I don't think he will. He was never going to happen. He won't. He's part of the bookies odds. But yeah, those two are the front runners as per the bookies. But they're not the only players. They're not the only managers that are talking to this club. Trust me, they're not. There's a lot. We're doing what we need to do. We're doing what we need to do, and I just hope, because some of the names are good, really good. Some of the names are bad. And do I have any confidence that he's going to choose the right one? No, I fucking don't. I really don't. I'm shitting myself, to be honest. You know, I'm excited in one respect, because change is coming, but it's excitement tinged with fucking, like, it's scary as well, because
dread.
I don't trust them to make the right move. I don't. In fact, the odds are they're going to make the wrong move. Let's face it. I think they probably are, based on what they've done in the summer and in the past.
Odds are it will be the wrong one. Yeah,
I think he's going to fuck up. Yeah, Sullivan is. So it's sad.
Yeah, this is our life now, I'm afraid. Like I said, we just have to hope on law of averages he just fucking stumbles upon a good decision.
Yeah.
just out of sheer luck. So that's all we really have to cling to, I'm afraid. But listen, I'm supposed to be doing my show at the moment, Nick. So
Tommy, sorry, mate.
I am going to have to run off. Yeah, you're fine. Don't know if you can join me over there. It'll be a brief enough one. It'll be pretty quick.
Mate,
If
send
you
me
can join
the
me
link.
over there, I'd love to have you out and shoot you the link.
Yeah, so if you want to hear us continue this very depressing conversation, come and join us over on the West Ham Network on Tommy's show. Right? Okay. Yeah. So I'll come out. Yeah, drop me the link, Tommy, and I'll come over there and talk to you, and we'll actually, it's quite cathartic. It's good to get it off your chest. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Go on in.
Jump over to West Ham Network. I'll be going live in a couple of minutes, and we'll continue on this joviality.
Yes, indeed. Speak to you soon. Cheers, everyone. Drop a like on the video before you go. See you over on the West Ham Network in a bit.